Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry.
No problem. I was trying, there is some problem I was thinking. No problem. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day five of this online faculty development program. Uh, and we are very happy to have with us Dr. Prakash Koteti, and he will be taking this session today. And sir has already taken one session, so I think you already know him. So, without wasting any further time, I'll hand it over to you for your session, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Very good evening, all. Thanks, Kamana, for the opportunity. So I will share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see. Yeah. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes, it's coming. Yes,
Yeah.
we can see it.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi. Good evening, everyone. So today we will be discussing about one of the interesting domains of how do we use generative AI, that is content generation, right? When it comes to content generation, we have different types of content, like text, video, audio, etc., right? So in this session, we'll be looking at more on content in the terms of music and as well as audio, and to some extent also we'll look at how do you generate video content also, right? So these are the three important aspects that we'll be looking at. It's a kind of deep dive session, and I will be touching upon various concepts that are needed, uh, that will help us understand better, right? So these are the 4 points that we have. One is we understand what is Gemini, and secondly, we look at music as data. And after that, we need to understand music fundamentals, because in order to develop or understand any particular application, right? It is very important for us to reflect on what you call specific domain related things, right? So this this is an attempt to give you some understanding on music fundamentals, and then we look at how generative models can be used for generation of music, right? So once again, warm welcome to this session. So let me start. So there are significant improvements in Gemini compared to what it was couple of years back, right? So what is Gemini AI? It is an AI chatbot tool which is designed by Google, with the aim of generating conversational application development, right? So when I say conversational application development, it can be natural language processing related, or it can be audio related, or it can be video related, right? So one of the key features of Gemini compared to other GPT models is its ability to generate multi-modal content, right? What is multi-modal AI? It's a combination of NLP and audio, video, and it's a blend of all these aspects, right? You can think of that way. Now, if you look at evolution of this Gemini, right? So it is initially conceptualized in 2023, and exactly, 2 years from now, uh, it is conceptualized and designed by DeepMind with focus on R&D. Okay, and then Sergey Brin is created this, with the help of various large language models. As time progresses, right, these large language models they evolve in time thanks to fine tuning techniques, because there are various fine tuning strategies that are available, which makes these models to learn faster and better, right? So by now you must have got some understanding on various touch points on uh, generative AI, right? So considering those, we just look at this particular platform, Gemini, and see how one can leverage this in various domains with special focus on music and audio content generation, right? In the process, we look at as a ML engineer or data engineer, right? Given domain support, right? What are the aspects that we should look at so that you know we can work together along with domain expert, for example, in a particular use case, and technical capabilities from the AI standpoint, how these two things can be brought together, and the synergy can be tremendous, right? Because you will be able to uh, cater to different needs pertaining to that particular domain. So this is just an illustration of combination of or right blend of domain knowledge with technical aspects, how they can lead to a meaningful solution pertaining to that particular area, right? Just that is the central theme of this session. In this journey, we'll be touching upon various concepts as required. Even some of these concepts are covered earlier by our colleagues, but still it is worth spending few minutes of time so that all the dots are connected as relevant, right? So that's how it is. So let us compare, uh, generative models. You can see here any comparison that you draw between two entities, you should always first list out the key aspects against which you want to draw this comparison, right? So that's why you can see the list of aspects. What are they? Multimodal core, image and video comprehension, and real-time data fusion, and healthcare and medicine perspective, creative content, and educational research, right? So these are the things that we are looking at. And with respect to each of these aspects, we will be covering each of the aspects will be covering the GPT transformer models available with Gemini. Okay. So first and foremost thing is multimodal support, right? So in the multimodal support, the GPT models, that is generative pre-trained transformer models, are more rich in terms of text content generation, right? Text generation, right? So that's where text prompts will play a very important role. Now, if you see, on the other hand, Gemini, by design, it is natively designed as multimodal, which means it can augment to various formats of text, image, audio, video, and Q&A bot, so on and so forth, right? Then the third one is audio understanding aspect. So GPT models are limited in this aspect compared to Gemini type models or Gemini, because Gemini actually natively processes spoken language. So That is a kind of language translation as a feature, right? All right. Now let us see the next aspect, that is real-time data fusion, right? When you see real-time data fusion, GPT models are not that appealing compared to Gemini, because Gemini has natural support for combining text, image, audio, and video in real time. Okay. Now, suppose if you want to apply this in specific domains, let us say healthcare and medicine, again, GPT models are more focused on text-based interpretation. Because of the fact that Gemini natively supporting your multimodal formats, naturally it can support medical image data and medical image reports more effectively. It can analyze those artifacts more effectively compared to GPT models, right? So in terms of generating creative content, suppose creative music, creative audio, creative video, right? Gemini outperforms GPT models. And as I said earlier, the primary thing is GPT models are predominantly for text-based inputs. Okay. Okay. Next, in educational research, again the same theme. You have text-based learning here, and whereas in case of Gemini, it is better for interactive and visual learning experiences. So, any questions so far? Let me see the chart. Yeah. Okay. Let us move on. Now, let us compare specific to GPT model, right? That is OpenAI related models. So, we are comparing OpenAI GPT models like ChatGPT 4, etc. Again, the comparison will have set of features, right? So, the 5 features predominantly we are looking at. One is model size, and then we look at modality, right? And performance, accessibility, and cost. Model size, it is also called model complexity. So Gemini has 200 billion parameters. If you look at just one variant called Ultra compared to GPT model, which is on the other hand has around 175 billion parameters. Now I have a question for you. So suppose I have two models, one with 200 parameters called M1 model, another with 400 million parameters M2. Can we say M1 is better than M2 or M2 is better than M1 or anything like that? Can we say that way? You type on the chat box. Is my question clear? Let's say I have two models, M1 and M2. M1 has 200 parameters, M2 is having 400 parameters. So M2 is better than M1 or M1 is better than M2? What are your arguments? Arguments for or arguments against? Both are Welcome. No, no, I am not talking about Gemini. I am talking about two models. M1 with 200 parameters, M2 with 400 parameters. Which one better? M1 or M2? Why M2 is better? Why M2 is better? Just you type, don't worry whether it is correct or wrong. It is not like correct or wrong, right? We are talking about different perspectives on this. This is the core concept actually. The number of parameters. Dr. Preeti is saying more data, high accuracy. Is it really the case always? Is it really the case always? Can we make a generalized statement on that? Mm-hmm. Okay, Professor Kishore Kumar is saying it is not based on the parameters. Okay, based on accuracy, need to decide. I hope. Or very good, Kishore ji. It is based on the model performance, not necessarily accuracy. Whichever whichever evaluation metric that you prescribe as a machine learning engineer, right? So it depends upon the what metric you are defining. With respect to that metric, we need to evaluate. So let us say in machine learning, I have a simple decision tree model, and assume that my decision tree model is performing better than a neural network. So what can we understand from that scenario? What can we understand? Hmm? Is my question clear? Hello. Are you able to hear me? Can you try to answer my question? So answer to this question is we cannot say whether it is M1 is better than M2 or M2 is better than M1. Right? Okay, DT is for small tabular or structured data sets. Okay. So what type of model we are referring here? Hmm? see, important point that we need to understand here is that if you have a complex model, it does not necessarily guarantee a better performance. So there could be a simplest model which can do much better than the complex model. So complex model not necessarily yield good results always, need not be, right? Now let us look at, now in this case, how do we say that Gemini is better? Because here we are talking about multi-modal content, right? Whereas in ChatGPT, it is not multi-modals. Uh, it is not designed actually from that point of view. What are the modes that are supported? Of course, in Gemini, it supports all the modes. But in the case of ChatGPT type of OpenAI models, they are predominantly trained for text data and for image and other data, it will not be able to recognize. Okay. Okay. Let me go to the next item. Next item is performance, right? So Gemini outperforms multimodal setting, and it is superior in math, coding, and reasoning. Whereas GPT models, they are good in NLP storytelling. Okay. Then next aspect is accessibility. So it is available through Google Cloud, and there are certain applications like BART or set generative experience that one can leverage using Gemini API. Hmm? Now let us look at accessibility. So accessibility, are you thinking? I just paused a minute. Neural networks for large complex data sets, very good. Dr. Preeti, you are correct. It is for large complex data sets. Why it is so? Why it is so? Large complex data sets? Just a minute. Yeah. Why it is so for complex data sets? Because in complex data sets, we expect to have more complex features, right? In a neural network, as you move inside the network, it will use more and more nonlinear complex functions, right? The complexity associated with feature extraction is visualized in mathematical models through nonlinear functions, right? Because if you have one layer, then one set of nonlinear functions you have. You have next hidden layer, then you have another set of nonlinear functions which are acting on top of already computed nonlinearity, right? So as you move deeper inside the neural network, it is expected to extract more and more complex features, right? Okay. Now, accessibility we already discussed, and cost. So, Gemini, it is cost effective and with respect to other GPT models, right? Now, we have some quiz questions, right? Can I ask some quiz questions? Hello? Because whenever I cover a topic, we'll be having some quiz questions. Okay. Now, Gemini does not support OCR. Is it true? To understand and recognize images. You think about it. Next question. Out of three variants of Gemini, which variant has a nimble AI model optimized for mobile device? That means lightweight model. Among all these Gemini models, which one is lightweight? Can you guess? It is Gemini Nano, right? Now let us look at this. Next question. Gemini can be used for creative writing and scientific research, but it cannot be used in education due to its lack of imparting personalized learning experience. Is this statement correct? If so, why? If not, why not? Hmm? Is this statement true? First of all, have you understood this question? Hello? Is it true or false? Okay. Why false? Simple, it can be used, right? Now look at this question. How does Gemini outperform GPT? It is a multi-choice question. More than one options is correct. Which option do you choose? Which options are correct? What do you think? Okay. You need to select carefully because we discussed these aspects, right? Moreover, you can see check boxes. You need to select all the appropriate answers, which means more than one option can be correct. So, do you think any other option or no? Okay, option two, people are saying it is 1 and 4. Very good. It is not option 2. It is 1 and 4. We just mentioned that Gemini outperforms GPT model in cost perspective. Similarly, we said that Gemini is good in reasoning, reading, math, and code generation, right? With this, we conclude on Gemini. Now, let us move on to music. Music as data. So, what are the challenges when you are looking at music as data? One is data representation, because in any machine learning or AI related experiments, first thing we need to understand is representation of the data. One is data representation. Second one is availability of the annotated data sets, and then expressivity, how expressive it is, then complexity and styling techniques, along with evaluation metric. Okay. So why do you think data representation is a challenge? So data representation, what can be the complexity there? So data representation is a challenge because you see different ways of representing this, let's say music data, which I will show you short while from now, right? And also, if you look at image data, for example, right? Image data, you say it's a kind of spatially distributed data set, right? So in these cases, sometimes you may not get that kind of spatially distributed data sets. Now, second one, limited annotated data sets. That means the available data sets are not actually structured, right, to consume them directly. Then expressivity, we have seen example. Associativity also we have seen that. Let us see. Next. Now, so we are basically looking at three important things that is already listed here. Any question regarding this? So these are the challenges that you can see using the creativity and technology. And how do we unify music modes? Like for example, in the later part of the session, you will see somebody who is physically challenged person, right? So how AI can be used to generate a particular instrument, uh, uh, you know, music, right? So generative AI can also do kind of fusion between these two, right? And these kind of generative AI models or generative music models help us to mitigate some of the risks that we see in day-to-day life, right? Where we are not able to find appropriate voice, for example, for a particular song, let us say, then you can leverage generative AI and see what kind of fusion it can be used to generate the content, right? So there are certain areas you may want to focus on towards research. One is towards unified representation of the music, expressiveness, and emotional awareness. So these are the four aspects, right? Now let us look at exploring the data formats. So these are the various formats. You can see that in each of these pages during architecture life cycle, you must have noticed one or two different specific formats, right? So for example, raw data, if you take, it can be in these formats. Sheet music, it can be music ML, music XML, sorry. And these are the other formats. Now let us just take this. Again, this is a spatial representation in terms of time versus frequency graph. If you model it, it will be something like this. Now you see here. Can you hear this? Hello? Can you hear this music? Let me check. Yes. Can you guess which movie it is? I will play again. Give me a minute. What is exactly? What it is exactly? Let me play this. So can you guess which movie it is? So it is a kind of one particular piece, a scenario in a situation in Bahubali movie, right? So when you just listen to that, you see some kind of a pattern, right? Periodicity, correct? So that periodicity you can represent through a mathematical functions, right? So once you are able to represent a quantity through mathematical function, you can always generate new data point, right? Now, on the right hand side, you see another type of distribution. It is like amplitude form. It is basically frequency time form. Which one is advantageous in terms of data representation and why? Now let us look at here. Now this textual representation, if you see, it will be something like this. So it is like Brahma Kadigina Padam, right? So this is something you can see a kind of a kirtana, right? From Anamacharya Kriti, right? So this is the representation of that particular data. Now this so-called kirtana, right? Or for example, Aditala, right? You are having a unique way of representing this on a sheet of paper, right? So that's why data representation is more complex when you are looking at music as such, right? Give me a minute. So let me move on. Have you understood what is this form on the left hand side? It is amplitude form, right? It is frequency form. Which one is advantageous for the analysis of the data? Amplitude or frequency? Next question is why? Bit representation is better? Amplitude form or frequency form? Correct. Frequency form. All of you following, no? Hello. Very good. Now let us move on. Now let us look at pre-processing of this particular data, right? So when you look at vocal and instrumental data pre-processing, already shared the screen. Can you see now? Because of network lag also sometimes your screen goes off. All right. So in audio processing, we have different steps that we have. One is, normalization, denoising, segmentation, resampling, right? Feature extraction, so on and so forth. On the other hand, in the sheet music means the one you see that's right. This is the sheet music, right? So it is you basically need to convert the format, standardization of tempo and the key, quantization. There is some more technique called quantization, encoding notes and encoding the events, multi-track separation, data augmentation, and one of the key things is alignment of audio, right? So we are talking about pre-processing of it, right? Now let us understand music styles, right? Now, if you look at Hindustani music or Carnatic music, right? So you have three important elements. One is tala, other one is pitch, then recursion, right? So the recursion is something connected with swara, right? The recursive swara phrases, they actually construct a repetitive patterns. These are called fractal structures, right? You know fractals, right? A fractal is a recursive function which generates itself, right? So, and similarly, in some of these karves and jatis, right? There is something like a mathematical pattern is observed, like Fibonacci sequence, right? What is Fibonacci sequence? A sequence which is expressed as a sequence with current element in the sequence is equal to sum of successive predecessors, sum of two consecutive predecessors, right? That will be Fibonacci sequence. To understand the Fibonacci sequence, you have a sequence 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 2, 3, and 2 plus 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, like that, right? You always add two consecutive numbers, you will get a new number. That sequence is Fibonacci sequence. So, and it has been observed that this kind of Fibonacci sequence in these uh, curves and jatis, right? Now, another thing is we need to also think of applying these uh, transformations, right? Because that will give you a better understanding of compositions, right? So there is something called spectrogram. Suppose you want to generate a music, generate a piece of music through Python programming, right? That's where you can use these spectrograms, right? So let us see this. Now please listen to this carefully. You're able to see my screen, right? You're able to see the screen, no? You're able to listen, right? You're able to hear, right? Music. 1 minute. Let me reshare. Let me reshare. Can you hear me? Can you hear now? Oh, okay, good.
सरस्वतीं विधि प्रिया देवी सरस्वतीं विधिप्रियां देवीं सदा भजरे मम मानस सरस्वतीं विधिप्रियां देवीं सदा भजरे मम मानस सरस्वती सुरुचि गणितोन्नत विद्यारसं विवनाट्यामलीरूपिणीं सुरुचि गणितोन्नत विद्यारसं विवनाट्यामलीरूपिणीं समं
You can see the sequence.
श्रुतिलय वरस्वर जति यति नवरसयुत सत्सङ्गीतामोद श्रुतिलय वरस्वर जति यति नवरसयुत सत्सङ्गीतामोद प्रतिपति शशं मुख संनुता जित भास्कर श्वेत पद्मासनं प्रतिपतिश षण्मुख संनुता जित भास्कर पद्म श्वेतासनं अज्ञान प्रहरणं तन परम विज्ञान प्रद परदेवताम् अनघ अज्ञान प्रहरणं तन परम विज्ञान प्रद परदेवताम्
Someone is saying something. Yeah, I will share.
अनघ सरस्वतीं विधिप्रियां देवीं सदा भजरे मम
So, what is important here is you must have seen some four components, right? Like Tala, for example, right? And Shruti, right? So, once you identify the uh, key characteristics of your data representation, then next thing is same as what we do in traditional model development, right? For example, in traditional model development, you have a life cycle, right? What is your traditional model development life cycle? Let me just show you. Give me a minute. I'm just sharing my screen. Yeah. Hope you are able to see my blackboard, right? So what actually it means, right? Once you understand the data representation, so basically we have life cycle, right? What is the life cycle for the model development? First of all, you need to have some data set. You are able to see my board, right? All of you? Yeah. Now, after that, what this data set comprises of, right? Now we need to understand. So it is it comprises of a number of compositions, right? It comprises of number of compositions, right? Now, from the data set, what you do is you go to the next step. The next step is pre-processing, right? So in pre-processing pertaining to this, what you do is that you perform a task called quantization. Quantization of sorry, nodes, right? And you also do normalization. Normalization of pitch and tempo. And then what else you can do in pre-processing? And these numbers you also want to do some kind of you create a sequence because these are all sequential data, right? You construct encoding encoded sequence. So when I say encoded sequence, it comprises of nodes and then uh, of course durations and also thala positions, right? You must have seen in that video, correct? So that is our pre-processing. You are following, right? Let me see. Okay. All right. After pre-processing, what are the next step? You want to do feature engineering, right? Or feature representation. So basically feature representation means you take three components. First one is nodes. Second one is thala. And third one is rhythm, right? Or pattern. So with respect to nodes, you can convert this as using one hot encoding, right? And thala can be modeled as some arithmetic sequence or number sequence. And rhythm patterns, what we call it as combinatorial sequence. So this is a feature representation, right? Now, suppose if you want to develop, what is the next step after feature representation in the model development? Then you want to construct the model, right? So you can use the different models like long, short-term memory, what we call LSTM, right? So essentially what you do is that you kind of remember the sequence of predecessor using the notion of gates here, right? We have various gates here in LSTM model, right? And what the sequence models does is the sequence models yields, they gives you prediction of next node, right? So then you apply some constraints here, right? Model building, you are using some constraints. So the model on constraints. So constraints are can be something like yellowed nodes, right? This is also called Thala pattern, right? And yellowed nodes can be, I think, Raga, right? Raga and Thala patterns. So this is how you construct the model. The next step is generation of the content. You want to generate new content, right? So you will be iteratively predicting both next node and as well as the position, right? So by looking at node and position, what we achieve is structural pattern, right? Structural pattern. Structural coherence. So this is how you can use various steps uh, to construct this music, right? So I am just trying to explain the flow, how it can happen with the same concepts of traditional approach of model construction, right? So what is the essence? Essence is,
She's also not.
sorry, you have something to say? Okay. So it lends mathematical structures, right? So there are various techniques that is something called Fourier transform, etc. Right? and there is something called you know something called Q transform, etc. Don't worry about these things, but this is the process flow, right? So this is how you typically look at how do you generate a music, right? Now let me go back to the slide. Yeah. So now we said that spectrograms, right? It is basically time frequency visualizations. You remember we have seen one particular example earlier, right? So very important thing is this time frequency visualizations is more informative than just amplitude form. Okay. So there are various transforms that we are talking about, right? Uh, One is short time Fourier transform, then constant Q transform, Mel frequency transform, wavelet transform, Hilbert transform, right? So these are the specific use cases. For example, STFT, if you take, you can use it in standard spectrograms, right? That means time frequency visualization. Similarly, CQT, it is relevant to raga note structure, right? So on and so forth. These are essentially different kind of transformers that we are using, that we can use. Now there are several projects, in this space. Let me just play this.
Human collaboration with intelligent machines. A different musician in a different town with a different approach is giving the same problem a shot.
People are concerned about AI replacing humans, and I think it's not only not going to replace humans, it's going to enhance humans. I'm Gil Weinberg. I'm the founding director of Georgia Tech's Center for Music Technology. Ready? In my lab, we are trying to create
right?
new technologies that will explore new ways to be expressive, to be creative. Shimon, it's a marimba playing robot. What it does, it's listen to humans playing, and it can improvise. Shimon is our first robotic musician that has the ability to
basically
find
how a
patterns
robotic musician
through machine learning.
constructed.
Machine learning is the ability to find patterns in data. So, for example, if we feed Shimon, Miles Davis, it will try to see what note is he likely to play after what note. And once it finds its patterns, it can start to manipulate it, and I can have the robot playing in a style that maybe is 30% Miles Davis, 30% Bach, 30% Madonna, and 10% my own, and create morphing of music that humans would never create.
Gil's groundbreaking work in artificial creativity and musical expression has been performed by symphonies around the world. But his innovation also caught the attention of another musician.
Okay.
A guy who unexpectedly
So
pushed
basically you're
Gil
talking about
beyond
fusion,
enhancing
right?
robots to augmenting humans.
I met Jason Barnes about 6 years ago, and I was just about finishing one phase of developing Shimon. And I was starting to think, what's next?
I got my first drum kit when I was 15 on Christmas. And when I lost my limb, I was 22, so I was kind of used to having two limbs. I started trying to fabricate prosthetics to try and get me back on the kit, which eventually led me to working and collaborating with Georgia Tech.
He told me that he lost his arm. He was devastated, he was depressed. Music was his life. And he said, I saw that you develop robotic musicians. Can you use some of the technology that you have in order to allow me to play again like I used to?
So that's the prosthetic arms that we built for Jason. When he came to us, he just wanted to be able to use sensors here so he can hold the stick tight or loose. I suggested let's do that, but also let's have two sticks. One stick can operate with a mind of its own,
understanding the music and improvising. One stick can operate based on what you tell it with your muscle. And also each one of the sticks can play 20 hertz, faster than any humans. And together they can create polyrhythm, create all kinds of textures that humans cannot create. All right, I think we're ready to play.
In some ways, the robotic drum arm allows Jason to play better than he ever has, but it still lacks the true function or feeling of a human hand.
They don't provide the kind of dexterity and subtle control that would really allow anything.
This revelation drove Gil to his next innovation, the Skywalker hand. Inspired by Luke Skywalker from Star Wars and created in collaboration with Jason, the revolutionary tech brings what was once the realm of sci-fi a little closer to our galaxy.
This is just like a 3D printed hand that you can download the files online.
Currently, most advanced prosthetic hands can't even thumbs up or Flippy the Bird. They can only open or grip, using all 5 fingers at once.
Most of the prosthetics that are available on the market nowadays actually use EMG technology, which stands for electromyography. And essentially what it does is there are 2 sensors that make contact with my residual limb, and they pick up electrical signals from the muscles. So again, when I flex and extend my residual limb, it will open and close the hand, and I can rotate as well. But the problem with EMG is it's very vague electrical signals, so 0 to 100%. It's not very accurate at all. The Skywalker hand actually uses ultrasound tech. Ultrasound provides an image, and you can see everything that's going on inside of the arm.
Ultrasound uses high-frequency sound waves to capture live images from inside the body. As Jason flexes his muscles to move each of his missing fingers, ultrasound generates live images that visualize his intention. The AI then uses machine learning to predict patterns, letting a man who's lost one of his hands move all 5 of his fingers individually, even if he's as unpredictable as Keith Moon.
The work that Gil is doing is really important. Gil comes from a non-engineering background, which means that his technology and the way he thinks about robotics is actually quite different than, say, the way I would think about it, since I come from an engineering background. And the commonality is that we want to design robots to really impact and make a difference in the world.
We were able to create a proof of concept with Jason Barnes. Once we discovered that we can do this with ultrasound, immediately I looked at, hey, let's try to help more people.
All right, just leave me hanging, holding it. I'll just keep holding it. It's not heavy or anything.
So you can slide it.
No, I'm messing with it. So I met Jason Barnes at an event called Lucky Fin Weekend. They're a foundation that deals with limb difference. So, there we go. All right, and it's out. Do you ever work on your car without the hook?
Not really. It's just way easier and efficient for me, too.
Dude, the hook really trips me out, though, man. When I lost my hand, it was close to 30 years ago, and prosthetics were kind of stuck in the dark ages. In general, they didn't really do a whole lot, and even if they moved, they seemed to be more passive than actually worthwhile to use. I don't like to talk about my accident because I don't feel it defines me. The narrative on Limb Different People has been the accident. This is what happened, and these are these sad things, and it becomes inspiration porn. For me, for example, right, if I do something, I have to, like, smash it out of the park because otherwise I feel like there's going to be this, oh, well, he did it good enough because he's missing his hand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, F that. Like, I'm going to be as good or better than somebody with 2 hands doing whatever I'm doing, you know?
So how
Prosthetics at this point in my life don't.
how AI is complementing, right? Some of the aspects where you have people with disabilities, right? How it can complement with proper trained models, right? So this is about that. Similarly, you can also see sensors, right? So, and another interesting thing is about how do we actually 1 minute. I will share these links with you. Right. Let me reshare this. Yeah, let us see this. That means how you can integrate with sensors, right? Can you hear this? So this is now another interesting thing is, certain sounds that you normally will not be able to see, will not be able to experience, like something, which those sounds will be very, very interesting in the sense that they also can be used under music therapy, right? Especially some kind of disorders like autism, etc. Right? So this is another use case where you can find it interesting.
When I was 12 years old, I would page through the encyclopedia. I would stop on the whale and
You're
dolphin
able to
page, and
see
I
and hear,
would
right?
go, I wonder what is going on in the minds of these animals. Language, to me, is the ultimate question about intelligence. The thing that we haven't been able to nail without a great tool. How do you decipher another species? The main use of dolphin gemma is to eventually look at their natural language patterns and match it with the underwater video. That's how we really figure out their language if they had it. All right, beautiful day. Woohoo!
Imagine a world where you could talk to an animal. Dolphin Gemma is the first LLM for dolphins. We've leveraged over 40 years of Denise's vocalization research to create this large language model to generate new synthetic dolphin sounds. These sounds will help us to one day hopefully communicate with the dolphins.
Dad shows up at my office one day, and he's wearing one of his many wearable computers. And I'm like, ooh, this guy's like a techno man, right?
I was like, well, I do wearable computers. This sounds like a summer project. We'll get this done for you. Here it is 15 years later. We've engineered this Chat Junior device to play our synthetic dolphin sounds underwater. Now let's see which one this one is. That is the signature whistle for Denise, so that whenever she's approaching the dolphin, she can introduce herself.
So what they're doing is they're testing the distance at which the two chat boxes can efficiently recognize our synthetic sounds. Oh, there we go. All right. We want it to work close to 100% before we take it in with the dolphins. It's this dance between getting data and respecting their culture.
I'm not very seaworthy, so.
You did great.
The true breakthrough for me with Dolphin Gemma is that I can generate so many of these so quickly. I just scroll through here and do days worth of work in minutes. If we can use this open model, people would take advantage of Denise's 40 years worth of research and use it to model for their own purposes.
Science is most exciting when you find something you're not expecting. You may discover something that you never even thought to look for. But that's the beauty. You don't know what's coming.
Yeah. So these are the few use cases. Similarly, suppose if you want to see how this filmmaking, right? How you can actually visualize filmmaking uh, through these kind of generative models, that also will have similar steps, right? The way we discussed here. So suppose if you take filmmaking, right? So there also again same steps we have. You can think of 1 minute. You have data. In filmmaking, you can have data something like a script. plus something like text, right? This text can be subtitles. And we can also have movie footage. And then metadata. So metadata means it actually describes actual data, right? Uh, something like cost information, and then things like budget, etc. Right? These are about data. Now, this is our first step: collection of data set. Then, when it comes to data cleaning, right? Here also we have set of steps, right? This involves uh, um, removal of duplicates, for example, or corrupted files, right? That can be one aspect of cleaning. And standardization in terms of formats, right? And then we have something like text processing, right? For scripts. So text processing, typical text processing steps are like tokenization, for example, and you have another step, something like lemmatization or cost conversion, uppercase to lowercase, etc. Right? Then you have something like stop word removal, right? What are the stop words like a, n, etc. Right? So typically, this is what you do. Once the cleaning aspect is done, then you can also think of various aspects like feature engineering and stuff like that, right? Then you have something like audio processing, because you have in movie we have audio and video, right? Audio processing steps I already explained earlier, right? Then audio processing steps, right? So after audio processing steps, you have something like feature engineering, where you combine text and video, right? Video, audio, and text. Now this we will be giving to the model. This will be giving to the model in terms of train data and test data, right? Like I showed you earlier, right? We have a probabilistic classifier which will predict whether the content that is generated is the same as original content or different from original content. If that error is large, then you try to fine tune this process so that your discriminative model will be able to uh, report the model performance with a threshold level of accuracy, right? So this is a combination of descriptive model and as well as generative model together, which will help us to fine tune this quality of the content that is getting generated, right? So this is how more or less it works. Let me just see what else we have, right? So not only that, lot of people like well-known musicians are using AI actually. you can take some of these examples, right? When I share this slide, you will know this. Something like Shankar Mahadevan, right? And A.R. Rahman. And there are a lot of use cases. There is something like there's a framework, basically Suno AI, right? So these are all various tools, which is basically Suno AI is a Bollywood style song production toolkit, right? So these are the various things that are readily available. You can just explore. So I just thought of giving a overall picture of how generative models work and what is importance of multimodal mm, architectures compared to GPT type, like generative transformer type models. And there is so much of experimentation that we can do. And when you think of generating a content, it is very important that you need to have appropriate domain knowledge. It is not that we need to be expert in everything, right? But you can also have kind of synergy between domain expert and technical expertise together, right? With this, I will close. Thanks for your time.
Thank
So,
you so much,
yeah,
Dr. Prakash Koteri. Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking this session. And
yeah,
as usual, you asked a lot of questions and make sure the participants engage. So thank you for that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
And I'm
thanks for the
very,
opportunity. Right.
thank you, sir. Thank you. Hello, Anjana. Welcome.
Hi, Kamna.
I wish you a very good evening, Anjana, and happy to introduce you. Uh, we have almost 160 faculty members have registered for this faculty development program, and today almost 75 of them have joined us for this session. And Anjana is a subject matter expert, and she is a consultant with the Magic, Tiny Magic Innovations. And before that, she has been closely associated and working very closely with us in NASCOM, so she knows about Future Skills Prime. Also, so I'm sure she will. In fact, I hope she will tell you a little bit about Future Skills Prime. Also, it's a online learning platform, and we are happy to have this session, and her sessions are very well received by the earlier faculty members, and especially her presentations. So I'm sure you'll all gain a lot. So please engage and interact with her. And uh, over to you, Anjana.
Thank you, Kamna. So, hi everyone. I think somebody has
Uh,
raised a hand.
this was
Subhashini.
from the earlier session. He can stop.
Yeah,
Dr. Goteti, you can log off and you can stop sharing also if you're there.
yeah, I can
Yes.
hear them.
Yes.
So, I will start, or do
Subhashini,
you want
yeah,
to walk through
Subhashini.
which
No, no, I think
person?
Subhashini, I can allow her to talk if there's something, but I think it's a question from the previous session. So I'm just lowering her hands. Yeah. Please carry on.
So, hi everyone. I know you've been having a lot of sessions, and I can imagine how it would be. So, without actually delaying, I would also like to share my presentation today. And I know you have all walked through a lot of, what is generative AI and how is it impacting various way, because we are talking about AI fluency, right? And generative AI comes as one of the major portion of it. Today, I'm going to be talking about how are we going to be using generative AI technologies for enhancing supply chain management, retail and fashion as an example is what I will pick up, because the capacity of generate firstly, I think half of the world, I would say 70% of the business in the world is running on supply chain management as a large, is very huge. And I think there are like 2 semesters or 1 semester of the entire supply chain management itself. Second portion of it is which is generative AI. Again, we are in an era of where lot of models are around us being designed and improved as we talk. So, just doing a justice to this session, I will be briefly presenting around how are we going to be influencing these areas, how is it going to be influencing these areas, and what are we going to be, how can we navigate these areas using these technologies. Now, if you have any queries, you can put it in the chat. You can also put it in Q&A, and I would love it to be interactive. So yeah, starting from the beginning today, I'll be covering on how it's going to be impacting supply chain management in fashion, focusing on innovative application and strategic advantage. And there is a huge area I normally say future Gen AI onwards, because till the generative AI, people were thinking that AI is going to take away jobs, but we are moving in an era where it's actually going to be impacting jobs, and we'll talk about how. So firstly, let's come to the basic of understanding of what is generative AI. I know you had a lot of sessions, so I just don't want to be taking it in detail, but I'll just revisit what are the major portions and why is it called generative AI. I will in go about how did it we come here. What is the history? A little bit about it. So the generative AI, the name given, so is nothing but AI systems that are capable of creating new things, generate, as they say. And what are they going to be generating? It could be new content, it could be new video, it could be new image, it could be, it can generate various things. It could be even new music, like Dr. Prakash just, covered in the previous topic. And what are the foundation model? Like he spoke about, one is large language models, which are like GPT, Claude, and there are other diffusion models, which are stable diffusion, Mid Journey, are some of the models that largely in total as a family are known as generative AI model. We all know Gen AI, which is Chat GPT, as a very popular model being launched first, but then everything like Microsoft Copilot to Gemini, everything is nothing but a large language model. And Perplexity, that you know in India. Now, what are the capabilities? Like I said, it can generate a text, image, code, prediction, complex decision making. Now, uh, so the other day I was listening to the podcast of Perplexity CEO, and in his opinion, all these large language model are primarily at the same level. The only difference being, initially when GPT was launched, it was not giving you real time information, and today, actually, all these platforms give you real time information as well, because they are linked to the internet, or they are linked to the real information, which is happening around the world. So basically, there is no primary difference if you look at it. Now, how do you differentiate the traditional AI versus the generative AI? Like I said, so AI already has been there, right? Always has been there. And we'll talk about how do you differentiate them. Now, what are the key technology? Dr. Prakash also just touched upon it, saying transformers or multimodal methodology or neural network reinforcement learning are certain key technologies that are utilized to build these models. Let's move forward. So going back, like I said, generative AI is not new to the people in technology, and it just that it did not become very popular. In fact, in the somewhere in the 2015, 16, we started hearing a lot about AI, and people started talking about big data and data warehousing, data lakes. These were things very very common from the start of cloud as a technology, or as the chip, or the how the graphic cards or their capability increased. So how is it different? How did we come here? So the simple reason was that AI as a terminology was somewhere derived in the 1950s, and which meant that something beyond the normal intelligence, and that is why it's called artificial intelligence. Or machine intelligence can also be called AI or artificial intelligence. After somewhere in 1980s, they started understanding that how do you have machine learning what a human does. So if you look at even present day technology, where have we reached? You cannot mimic a human body. You cannot mimic an animal body, right? The intelligence of a system, no matter how much you build it, is not capable enough to match every direction of a human intelligence. So even a 2-year-old child would know more terminologies, can do more ambidextrous things, and can walk, can run, can cry, exhibit more emotions than probably a single model can. So, so what this means is that we are still, way ahead, way back. If you look at we are not there as if you want to meet the human capability. But yes, we can. What we can do is we can build models to do certain tasks, or we can do models to exhibit certain repetitive task model behavior, or and maybe act intelligently. So somewhere in 2010s, there was a terminology called deep learning. What does that mean? That means that where the machine would start learning or mimic a human-based learning. That is, from there only you have a terminology called neural network. So why do they call it neural network? Because neural network exhibits, exists in your brain, and your brain communicate to each other using neurons, which is nothing but a neural network. And we are talking about the same neural network in deep learning, that the machines can also learn from what they already know, build on that database, and if given more information, can learn on by their own without actually externally teaching them. Between 2010 and 2020, there was a remarkable increment in terms of data processing speed. And if you look at the processor, a processor of Intel, if you look at the Intel chip in 2010 and you look at a chip in 2020, there was a tremendous processing power that was generated. And it's not only Intel, we are talking about NVIDIA or various other companies who are in this domain. And this made generative AI more possible. Having said that, even today, the amount of investment in terms of data that has gone in, having these powerhouses lit for creating these models is enough to light a country. So basically, we have not still come to even break even, and they are heavily sponsored by some or the other. If you look at the countries, or sometime there are somebody who's sponsoring these companies in such a huge investment in generative AI, large language model development. Okay, so here on. So how does the generative AI work? The difference between AI and generative AI, we just spoke. We said that generative AI is nothing but, we used to have it. If you talk about, if you ever studied about Walmart, and people, there were multiple case studies on how did Walmart become successful, or why did Walmart was successful vis-a-vis other retail providers in the market. The simple reason was that AI was already there. There were already large amount of data that Walmart used to work on, and this used to be said as one, Walmart could manage its supplier relationship and manage its supplier pricing. Two, Walmart could predict what its customers are going to do by analyzing the data. So Walmart, even 15, 20 years back, used to collect all the data, and of course it was using different technologies. Those were how warehousing was working on the basis of RFID. How are things going out of the warehouse? When are they going? Where are they placed? And who is buying what? Right? And based on that, what is being sold in the market most? What is the weather? And if what is selling in the market, and predicting it. So AI is nothing but predictive analysis using data. It used to be called data analytics. If you know old erstwhile, it used to be called data analytics. The moment we started talking about large sum of data, which is the moment we started talking about somebody like Facebook, Amazon, e-marketplace, the data was coming from multimodal method, which is, it's also coming from the campaign you're running on television. It's also coming from Facebook. It's also coming from online website or store, and you had multiple information source. the amount of data the model has to kind of filter from. If you look at impressions, if you look at Facebook likes, or what is the number of video visits, or it becomes a huge amount of data to filter. And that's where artificial intelligence came, where which was backed on big data handling. Come to generative AI. Generative AI works on where you're feeding a data to a model, and and you're obviously writing a prompt. Now we call this natural language process. If you look at any generative AI model today, we call it natural language process, because what is natural language? It is nothing but the language we talk in, right? So I am diverting a bit just to come to this topic of why it is called natural language. If you look at historically, computers used to be what? Binary, 0, 1. So computer used to understand 0 and 1, and that is how used to build. That is how biggest of computers were built, or the IBM servers which are sitting were built on those models. However, as the technology increased, we started navigating the technology to communicate with computers, and slowly came the languages. So you would have heard of so many languages, right? For example, if we have to talk about C, C++, or SQL. SQL is nothing but SQL query language, and no SQL is the modern way of saying no SQL query language. On the basis of SQL, there are multiple other languages which were similar, which were nothing but a query based language. Now, if you look at any query based language, right, how does it work? It works, query based languages, imagine a Excel. So, there are rows and there are columns, correct? So, if you put a query based language, that means where is A? So in an Excel, what can happen if you have ABCD? Let's imagine ABCD on a column, and then you have some XYZ on the rows. Now there are only two dimensions, right? Or a row and a column. You can only search either using a row and column. So you have two dimensional, and that's why if you look at if you click on any box, you will have its row and the column. So that's the address. If you look at it, like if you have to find something in space on an Excel, imagine it as a space. Now I just randomly say ki, find A. How do you find it? So there is a query that one writes, and that's why it's called SQL query language, and SQL is very prominently used database. Now when you come to generative AI, you don't have to learn a language. You only need to understand the basic construct of a prompt. And there are also, it's also called prompt writing, or how to code craft a prompt, and to tweak this prompt is called prompt engineering. Now prompt is nothing but a question, a well framed question. If it's almost like how to ask good questions, and because it is natural language, everybody, you, me, or anybody can use it if you look at it, right? So now on the basis of prompt, you get an output. Now this I know you all cannot see it properly. I have put it because I am going to come back to this model. I am going to explain it with a video so that it is easy for you to understand what is happening in the real life. But this is a basic model of any generative AI model. Today, you can replace this Gen AI model using ChatGPT. You can use it Gemini. You can use Microsoft Copilot or Perplexity, any model, right, which you know of. And all you have to do is, there is already a data setting which they are training the large language model on. And now what are you doing? You are just putting a prompt to get an output. Okay. Now think of how we spoke about what is the difference between AI and Gen AI. Now think of how do you think it can make a difference in work like supply chain management. Now the models that are creating in supply chain management, just going back, we are going to be, what's the, like we said, what is the difference between generative AI and AI? Is one is that one is more of predictive, and other one is more of generating original content. So now that you already had Dr. Prakash's class, I would like you to think on the grounds of how do you think it's going to be making impact on, how is it going to change the way you navigate? How do you think it is going to affect You. I just write whatever you can think of. How do you think, how do you think it will impact these businesses? Any answers? I want to keep it interactive because what has happened, otherwise it's almost like monologue. So what do you think it can, how can it impact? Okay. I know it is 7:30 and I can understand. So I don't want to be also wasting time. So let me get into what are the areas that we are going to be covering. We are going to be covering, like I said, 3 areas. One is text generation. Second is image creation, and third is simulation of results. Right? Now, why are we going to be covering these areas? Well, because we can only cover so much, and I have just limited myself how these 3 areas are going to be affecting supply chain management. Now, this is a traditional, if you see this first diagram here on the top is a traditional supply chain management. Think of it. I think if any of you have ever studied supply chain management or heard of it, I think 50 years back also it used to be like this, which is supplier, manufacturing, distributor, retailer, and customer. That's what we knew of supply chain management. If you look at today, I don't think it works this way. I don't think all of you are aware of I mean, am I sharing my screen? Sorry. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So if you see the way it has changed, it is changed tremendously. You are no more going to be talking unilaterally. You no more have the same set of, you don't have a manufacturer to distributor to retailer. If you look at today, you order something you want and you directly get it from Blinkit, for example. So basically, you have removed the distributor now, you have a supplier, and here Amazon or Blinkit is acting as a retailer and distributor both. They are also distributing, they are also retailer, and then you directly receive it as a customer. You can also order from other areas. You can order from a Facebook, you can order from Instagram, you can order from. So there are so many modes of ordering, and it is no more unilateral, right? It doesn't work how it used to work 30 years back or even 20 years back. And I think even 10 years back, we did not have so much of revolution of online marketplaces or other areas of technology. Now, okay, why is it not moving? Right. Now, I'm going to be just walking through this video for all of you to understand. This is just to showcase why are we talking of retail and fashion separately. We can straight away talk about supply chain management, but to be honest, even within fashion, there are sub segments. But for today, we'll just cover the overall, what is fashion. And I'm going to be re-sharing my screen because normally what happens is that, the sound doesn't get shared. So I would like to stop sharing and I will re-share my screen with the sound.
The quickest way from a billion points of data to a point of view. SAS Via.
Predictions.
It is by far the biggest company in Spain.
Drawing inspiration from the glitz of the runway, you might expect headquarters in Madrid, one of Europe's glamorous capitals. But nope, it's right here, in this rural corner of northern Spain. And in an industry married to glossy full-page campaigns and costly commercials, the company's ad spend is basically non-existent. So what's making this work so well for Zara? And as the global fashion industry confronts new competition and existential problems, can it last?
The retail fashion landscape is undergoing a moment of reckoning.
5, 6, 7, 8, and switch.
Zara is widely considered the creator of fast fashion.
That was a label given to them by the New York Times when they opened a Zara store in New York.
Fast fashion is the ability for retailers to respond to changing consumer trends and quickly churn out goods with a very short lead time.
Trendy threads which usually cost little enough that it doesn't matter if you only wear it for a couple of lunches or a single evening alone squatting on a stove.
Some people would say that H&M did the same thing, but given the size and the presence globally of Zara, there's a lot of people who would argue that they are definitely the one who gets the crown.
It's for those aspirational luxury shoppers who can't afford to buy top-tier brands or even mid-tier brands. And they're for
Sportswear companies and apparel companies in the world have become, over the years, extremely reliant on factories in Asia. Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, and China, among others. Zara has also started producing over the years in those countries, but more than half of their production comes from what they call proximity.
That'd be markets closest to its headquarters, so Spain, its home market, and here, and here, and here.
And what that allows for is much more rapid distribution into stores. So we think about 80% of stores within Inditex can have a shipment every 4 to 5 days.
The second part of their uniqueness in logistics is that everything they produce gets shipped back to distribution plants in Spain.
Like this one near Madrid, every Zara item you've ever worn once came here.
Those products get repackaged and then they get sent out to stores across the globe based on the needs from those stores. Zara now has to keep an eye on those because these are the brands that are being installed and being seen as the go-to place for a lot of consumers, especially at the lower end of the age groups. They have also changed the bar for environmental impact, right? They're not public companies in the way a publicly traded company like Zara or H&M is, and so they also have less responsibility towards stakeholders like investors on their environmental practices, and that, in a way, has changed the pressure a company like Zara has.
So fast fashion undoubtedly has an impact on the environment. The raw materials that are used in fast fashion are incredibly water intensive, energy intensive.
Fashion is responsible for 20% of the 300 million tonnes of plastics produced each year. In the time it's taken you to get to this point of the video, look how many items of clothing were thrown away or destroyed in the US alone. This equates to 10 billion kilograms of waste a year.
Given the sheer volume that is produced by retailers like Zara, it undoubtedly will impact its environment. It's also been criticised as promoting overconsumption and a culture of waste, so throwing away your clothes after just a few uses.
So the idea of showing this video was to tell you how and why fashion is different. And let me come back to the important points that we came across in this video. That is, number one, you saw a couple of words. Number one is fast fashion. Number two, the supplier logistic going to market. Number three is sustainability, or the amount of waste produced by these companies, right? Those are the key areas if you look at any company which is today finding it difficult, and these are the areas for fashion actually something which are going to be challenging. And I just want to give you an idea that, for example, I live in the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, I cannot, if I want to throw away my piece of clothing, I cannot throw it in the usual dustbin I have. There are places where you are supposed to go and put your clothes. And the simple reason those bins are, made in certain kilometer and not like a regular dustbin, which is in front of your house. So the idea is that the government wants to first, of course, have a sorting of these clothing, how much, can give it to people who need it. Secondly, they can be resold in certain store. Number three is the amount of recycle sorting at the dustbin, if the wastage level is prevented. And number four, of course, it is going to be positive for the environment. Now, if you look at a company like Zara, like they said, they are publicly traded.
And one of the ways that retailers are looking to push
These are publicly traded companies, and hence they have an ownership towards both stakeholders and the government. In fact, even companies who are not publicly traded like Shein or Temu, because both of them are Chinese, we cannot talk about what are their governance. But in majority of the world, if you look at any other organization, they will have to showcase what is the amount of how have they prevented the waste production, what is the amount of recyclable products that they have produced. And that is where the ownership of when it comes to fashion comes. And also the go to market, which is fast fashion, which is evolving as and when we look at the consumer mindset, right? And you might have seen it in India, grown over last 10-15 years. I mean, if you look at 10 years back, we used to wear our clothes more often, we used to buy lesser. And today, if you look at that, there are more purchases because of the purchase parity increment. That also means more disposable income, and that also means you are buying more and you're also wasting more. So those are the areas if you look at that. Now, what do you think the generative AI in a supply chain management? Now we will introduce of how is it going to be helping, or various factors, right? Where is it going to be helping? So in supply chain management in fashion, it can help. And like I said, we will be covering few examples. In retail, we are going to be talking about demand forecasting, automated generation of promotional plan, and supplier risk analysis. Now, think of demand plan forecasting, right? How is it different from what used to happen earlier? Now the demand forecasting is going to be also including what is happening from multimodal methodologies, and it's going to be helping you design a analysis, because generative AI is capable of simulation. And if a system is simulated well, it can give you a good result when the similar scenario comes. When it comes to promotional plan, we spoke about the fact that generative AI is different from normal AI, because generative AI helps you in original content. So how do you think it is going to be helping you in this area? Can you share something, all of you? Any random thoughts you have of how do you think this is the area where it can help? Anything? What do you think it can do? Generative AI can do when it comes to promotion, marketing. You can type it in the chat. Okay. So let's get into this. Yeah, at least somebody is answering. So yeah, correct. So I see Sharanya writing, creating new ideas for marketing. That's absolutely right. If you look at a normal marketing, and any creativity, anything creative, you have a creative team. You have a creative team starting from one idea generation to the product generation. You understand what is idea generation to product generation? Idea generation is we're thinking of what is the way of campaigning. If these are the customers, you're doing segmentation, and then you're saying, how do I go to these customers? For example, today, all of you might have received a, go and sign into this webinar. So you were, in this case, you're a captive audience. However, there is a set of brochure which was made. There was a campaigning which was done both on LinkedIn, both on platform. There was a set of creative which was sent. There is a team which actually creates it. There is an HTML creative team which creates that particular campaign, and which creates. Imagine all of that can be done using generative AI. Now, I don't need a creative team. I don't need anybody. I can do it on my own. Not only that, I can also create how will that be going. And it's not limited to unilateral methodology or unimodal methodology. You can do multimodal creatives. Okay, so demand forecasting, like I said, demand forecasting is more simulation based. Of course, in simulation, it's almost like game theory, right? Game theory, which says that you have to probably prepare a model for a particular scenario, and in that case, you can think of any scenario. How will you behave in this scenario? And you will kind of design the scenarios in such a fashion that cover, things like aliens coming to Earth, which has not happened. But you can even design a scenario what would happen then, and you can prepare the model to behave in certain way in those scenarios. And all of you know, we can have automated marketing plans. So generative AI enables dynamic promotional strategies. What is dynamic promotional strategies? If you look at Amazon, or if you look at Blinkit, or if you look at even Uber, Zomato, right? Uber says we can deliver food also. They were in cars. They were in different segment. They were in consumer travel segment. They moved themselves to now almost a segment competing with the likes of Zomato. So now, because Zomato was delivering, what was Zomato doing? It's not making food, it's only delivering from a restaurant. Uber, which is already running cars, can also do it. So basically, the boundaries between businesses have just removed, because we are talking about dynamic promotional strategy. So 1 plus 1 is free, and because you bought this cooker, now I will give you gasket for 50%. It's a promotional strategy that you can create only when can be very specific. Now, that is a level of dynamic thought you cannot do at a very larger level. So, as a marketing, if I'm a marketing manager of a retail company like a FMCG company, let's imagine HUL, I can only think of a promotion for a large land. Okay, I will go to Maharashtra with this promotion stand because I want to increase my wallet share. I cannot think of what will I do with one person. I cannot think of a promotional level of what will I do to what if somebody does this. That is the area where you play with the scenario creation, and you have a dynamic promotional strategy created then and there. And the system is helping you creating that. It's also helping you build everything, related to it, like how will you reach, how will it go to you, will it go via message, or will it come to you on your pop-up, or will it come via notification? So all of those strategies can be designed using generative AI. Now, so have you thought of the important part? Like we spoke about, important part is data synthesis, right? The key capability of generative AI is data synthesis. Now, data is, if if you look at data, it is image, it is a music, it is anything which is unique. Data synthesis happens in a generative AI model, and that is something you can use, and it becomes yours, right? Because you are the one who created it. There is no more IP related to a bigger company, and creativity comes down to individual. Enhanced logistic planning. So how do you think enhanced logistic planning happens? And I will come back to this with the video also. How do you think enhanced logistic planning happens? Now, AI generated scenario help you plan for all kind of risk in a dynamic environment. What will happen in a real life? What can happen? There can be earthquakes, there can be rain, there can be roadblocks, there can be traffic, or there can be an accident, there could be a VIP. There are multiple things that are happening if you look at a logistic world. Now, how do you make the system, you train the system, and now the system, because it's working in real time. If you look at the drivers, they have a real time access to the maps. The map is looking at the GPS real time, and if there is a blockage at a point, it will, and if you think it is going to, be so expensive, it will rather have you drive through the B part, which is like half an hour more, but then you will be able to reach the destination and meet all your deadlines and save so much of money. So that is nothing but a real life logistic planning. And we will look at that. There's a huge part called supplier risk analysis. And if all of you would have heard, I think I remember some years back in the parliament, they used to wear onions and come say, onion prices have gone so high. People are not able to afford onion. Onion is 100 rupees kilo. Why do you think that happened? That happened because onion were coming from majorly certain parts of India. Especially in winters, Maharashtra is a core producer of onion, and the supply is kind of limited to onion, in these states. And there was a rain or something, and of course, because the supply is at risk, what will happen? The demand is high, and the price of commodity goes high. That's a very basic thing which happens in economic. And this is what I think happened, and this used to happen frequently, if you remember. Today, hear of such scenarios. Why don't you hear of such scenarios? Because one, of course, there are multimodal methodology that supply is coming from. It's not limited to one state, and because of the amount of, how easy it has become, I think even the international supply chain management, it's easier for us to import things from outside India or out, within a world. It is easier to ensure that you don't have, uh, uh, you know, uh, anything in such a low amount that you have sudden inflation. Having said that, in an organization you can do the supplier risk analysis, and that's something we will see soon with an example. Now, as I said, in case of in case of retail, the supplier risk and the predictive analytics of the route, we will see it with this example of Microsoft Dynamics. And tell me if you are able to hear the sound, because I still have the sound shared.
Dahlia is a supply chain
Can you
planner.
hear the sound? If someone can confirm, if you can hear the sound. Okay, great.
At Kraft Heinz Company, one of their biggest challenges is keeping up with demand in the face of unexpected supply chain disruptions. Copilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, which is available to Dynamics 365 supply chain management customers, helps them stay close to their suppliers to ensure they are never out of stock. They can respond quickly in critical situations by identifying costly problems early and swiftly collaborating with partners to maintain healthy inventory levels. Dahlia first uses the AI-driven news module to keep a finger on the pulse of events that impact critical logistics, such as weather, workforce, or geopolitical disruptions. Today, she's presented with an article about a flood in Michigan. She sees this article has been tagged as an immediate risk, and her suppliers, Northwind Traders, Van Arsdal, and Best For You Organics Company, are affected. Dahlia selects Northwind Traders and clicks Contact Partner. She wants to confirm the impact on order dates and quantity, given the flooding in Michigan. She reviews an AI-generated email powered by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot that already contains all the relevant information referencing the flooding and specific orders in question. She opens the draft directly in her email, sees that the right contact, Mauricio, has automatically been filled in, and sends it off. With Copilot, Dahlia is able to quickly handle this task in just a few clicks, facilitating a much faster mitigation process. Mauricio from Northwind Traders responds, "The order will be delivered from an alternative Northwind Traders location with a new ETA." With Copilot in Microsoft Supply Chain Center, Dahlia was able to act swiftly, detecting problems that could have major impact to her business and taking immediate action to mitigate the disruptions without ever leaving her workflow.
So, could you all hear what was the case? I am going back to the diagram I had shown earlier. Just give me a moment. Okay, so do you see this diagram that I said I'll come back to this? Now, what is happening? This is the back end of the Dahlia case study we just saw. There is an impact detection, okay, and a AI-driven news that could impact their supplier. What is happening that you have a GPT model here, Copilot. In this case, it's Copilot. And there are multiple module. If you look at, one is news module, then you have Copilot module. And what is it? Bing search. So what is this? This model is doing nothing but is actively monitoring the things which are happening in the news. And it is made for that. And why is it doing so? Because Heinz, if you know Heinz tomato ketchup, right? So Heinz is producing, what is a major popular product is what? Tomato ketchup. And what will tomato ketchup be dependent on? The major supplier will be tomato. And unlike tomato, which is raising every day up and down like a commodity, if you know, even if you go to market, there will be difference of 2, 5, 10 rupees sometimes. You cannot have a sauce. Tomatoes has price fluctuates so much, right? If you know you buy tomato sauce, it will be maybe today, and then after 6, 7 months there will be a raise in price or something. So how do you ensure you have a supplier risk monitored, because you are totally dependent on supplier, and maybe you have not one supplier, you have multiple supplier. So in this case, what happened that tomato ketchup Heinz, it searched the news here in the first part of impact detection. And what happened in the second part? There was another which is a messenger, which is creating a message to whom they know who is the supplier contact, because all of your contacts are CRM driven, everything is API linked, and now they already draft the Copilot is designing a mail, and now of course you can edit it or you can send it as it is, and that will you be able to supply to us. And then look at the third portion, which is what is Copilot internally working? It is working on gathering the customer data, the graph, and you can also do the calling using API. You can draft an email. You can even send an email. So this is what is happening in this case in the real life scenario. So there is already a model which was trained for this particular company for supplier risk analysis. And now how is it helping? The lady doesn't have to go and search, she doesn't have to frequently call her suppliers and say, "Okay, oh, it's rained or there was a flooding, do you think you will be able to supply?" She doesn't have to proactively even monitor, because there's a system in place which is going to be doing all that for her. And that is the benefit of a generative AI model in this case. It's helping uh, the whole organization work on supplier risk analysis. Similar methodology that you can follow even for logistic monitoring, or you can even follow it for any other monitoring, or having your risk mitigated in those areas. Going back, we were here. Okay. Okay. So now let's come to, how do you think we can leverage the generative AI in fashion? Like I said, we highlighted couple of things in fashion which are different. One is how soon fast fashion, right? We spoke about fast fashion. Which are the things you think impact fast fashion? uh, think of what do you need to uh, you know uh, and they're calling it, still calling it fashion, right? Despite Shane or Temu being, or I think there's one more brand I forgot in India. So despite the fact that they are smaller brands, or wherever they are made, they still call it fashion. They do not call it retail, because they're dealing with a consumer thought process oriented. So you choose on the basis of your color, size, design, and that is why it's inclined towards fashion and not inclined towards utility. Now, in fast fashion, if you look at primarily, even the biggest, if you look at the biggest area where you would have seen, there is an exclusive TV channel called FTV, Fashion TV. And what is the thing that people or brands are popular for? That is their design. That is their proprietary design in Gucci or Prada, or Louis Vuitton, or these are famous for their unique design sense. do you think next Louis Vuitton cannot be made? Somebody cannot copy the designs and cannot make it? They can, but then because of their being proprietary and having that fashion, proprietary design being already registered, nobody else is reproducing it, or they have built a brand value over a period of time. However, having said that, today you've come to a place where you don't need any fashion designers if you think about it, because the system is capable of designing, generating unique designs for you. That's number one step for you, which it is helping you in a fashion company. Number two, the biggest thing from for fashion after designing is prototyping it. So normally a fashion designer designs multiple items and then they prototype it, right? They have to think about what fabric will they use, or what are the colors they should produce, and what should be the length, and what should be the minute designs in it, and then they make a prototype of the item. Now, prototyping is also a stage where you invest heavy, because there is no product. You're just prototyping it. It's also not ready to go to market. There's a lot of time, there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of investment which goes in this. Now, you can even do virtual sampling and prototyping. What is sampling and prototyping? Both are different. One is prototype. So, for example, I make t-shirt and I make three samples, and three designs. And then what do? I make these three design samples. Sample is three item, and then I send it to three different buyers, and then say which one do you like. That is sampling. So if you remember, if you go to any fabric, they have a sample, a small sample which you can select from. Or paint, you have a paint color and you can select from which this will look like. So those are sampling. All these stages now no more need can be done using generative AI. So you can even imagine how will you have apps, and you have places where you can see how will a clothing set look on you. You can actually virtually imagine without even trying. Yeah, and you can do it without even being physically in touch with the dress. You can do it virtually on a system. After that, there's another stage where, if you look at mass selling, if you look at sites like Temu or Shein, which they were showing as a competitor to Zara, or even if you look at Flipkart today, you see a lot of people, and then you see a lot of t-shirts. If you go to t-shirt, let's say, I'm just giving, if you go to t-shirt, you will see so many people wearing similar t-shirts, or different t-shirts and different colors. If you want black t-shirt, for example, then you can see so many boys wearing different t-shirts, or girls wearing different t-shirts. That's called a, so actually in the past they used to have an actual person. So they will hire a person, and of course make them wear so many clothes and take a photograph. And so of course they need for photograph they need a lighting, they need to set up the whole room, and they set up for creating that photograph, and then they have to put it on an online marketplace. You don't need anybody today. Think of it, for example, when I was in NASCOM in the beginning, I was working with one of the startups, and they told me that they generate images. And I'm talking about a year of 2018, where we had not heard of generative AI, and generative images, of course, not. So he was just telling me about how they generate images using different pixels. And I was very curious, who are your customers? Who is going to be buying fake images from you? That's when they said fashion companies are our biggest buyers, because they need people to create. And artificial person is cheaper than a real person. Also, you have to make that person actually wear those clothes, and imagine being able to display it without actually somebody wearing it. So that's another area where, so that covers the complete one, idea generation for a new design, which is design ideation and trend prediction. How does trend prediction work? Trend prediction is working in real time. For example, uh, if you are today, for example, this year I heard there was a lot of rain in India, and at least in the northern part of India, they did not anticipate it's going to be raining. Now, what happens? You were going to actually have a lot of summer clothes sold, but now what happens because of rain, because the temperature is not so hot, you have this, you have to predict that weather is determining how will you have the next cycle go or what is, and fashion traditionally was also controlled by first of all seasons, and now there are faster fashion or the fast cycle of fashion is uh, actually making it more difficult for people to predict. So the quicker trend prediction and then design ideation has become faster. You no more need real people, or even if you have a real designer, you have a support engine to support with designs, and then you can do the whole prototyping to sampling to actually having in the marketplace done virtually without actually doing it. And of course, supply chain, like they spoke about, in a fast fashion industry, supply chain is tremendously important because you have to get the goods faster to the market. You cannot have, for example, look at winter cycle in India. Winter starts probably in the month of November, right? But you will already see a sale going on normally in the month of August, because the retail stores are already predicting that they want to sell off their summer things and now they want to come to winter. But the winter is such a short cycle. What if you're not able to sell by the time you get goods to the market, November, December, January, and then winter's done? It's hardly 3 months. And within those 3 months, you have to get out of all the stock without having any actual losses. So how do you ensure there are faster trends, faster production, and if there is a winter sometime exceeding and it is moving till February, then how do you ensure that people are able to get things in the month of February? So that's the thing. Now, generate AI revolutionized, like I said, design ideation to creative, innovative styles and pattern. And that's an area where for fashion it's going to be revolutionary. And anybody can be a fashion designer. You don't need any qualification to be a designer anymore. And in fact, to the level that you can even have 3D generated clothing samples. So you no more need, if you go and print, actually produce a fabric, there's so much fabric waste. And then also, today, like we spoke about, sustainability is the biggest concern for any fashion company. So how do you ensure that you have more recyclable clothing produced? So you'll need all that to be done at the level of understanding the whole design cycle. And you can even have a 3D generated clothing, so you no more need to go to a big factory to get your sample produced, or you no more need multiple people to put a sample into size. Like I said, supply chain agility is of very, very important because of the preferences of consumers, especially in fashion, because consumer preferences are changing as we move, and it's a very, very fast cycle. It's because it's not a utility-based cycle; it's a very uh, affordability, or it is very what I own, or something related to it. It's impacting the aesthetic sense of a person. And like I said, sustainability is biggest concern for the companies in fashion today, and they have to work on multiple things. One is creating eco-friendly material which can be, uh, and secondly, minimizing waste. And thirdly, getting recyclable material. So whatever they are producing or whatever they are creating, if it goes to landfill, how does it come back to them? And how do they produce something new out of it? Is the biggest concerning area for them. Now, uh, I'm just minimizing I'm just going off video for a second. And just give me a second. Okay, so this I wanted to show it to all of you. Just give me a moment. I want to minimize my Zoom chat. Okay. So can you see this? Okay, going back. This is a t-shirt. If you look at it, this is I had to create a video. It was a video, but it was not limiting in this design. So I recreated it, but it was already a video. It was a GIF basically, which is almost a small video clip. Yes, it's a t-shirt. This is a t-shirt that I created on this site called Runway. You can also try it. It's a site for creating videos and images, and I just put a prompt where I wanted to create a t-shirt design for the you know, modern generation or Gen Z, and I wanted it to be very futuristic, and I gave certain prompts which I wanted to, and initially I put the color red and then I changed it to black. So if you look at this t-shirt, I can actually today go and put this on Flipkart or any other site, right? This is somebody, some model. They have automatically put the t-shirt on the model. They've also generated the design which I want. So basically, I can put this t-shirt on the Flipkart and or any other Amazon. And when I have like 1,000 people asking me for this t-shirt order, and I can put a time to delivery that, you know, it will be only delivered once produced and it's very customized. And once I have 1,000 orders, I can actually print it. I can go and get it printed and dispatch it if you look at it. So I don't need a designer, I don't need a model, I don't even need any creativity to create this basic design. And I had a site which I utilized to create my own fashion brand. And it's an authentic design. It's a proprietary which I have done on my own. Okay. Right. So let's come to the challenge and future outlook for generative AI in supply chain management. So far, we've been only talking, I think, all good things or all things that are favorable for the technology, right? Or we're talking about how generative AI can be beneficial for supply chain management and what are the things we can do. But any technology can have a twofold approach, which is how does what are the things that we need to be keeping in we have to keep be aware of when we are looking at using them in supply chain management. Firstly, we have to think of what are the technological changes. So it's the quality of the data, the availability, and the, you know, how do we, so for example, if the data that you feed the engine is not right, in giving taking the example of supplier risk analysis, what if there is a false warning? And especially news channel, you can see so many news channels these days have this, you know, running constantly on loop on certain news they've not even confirmed, right? So the data quality is something which is primary for building a good model, and this will apply to each and every case. So the a poor model will lead to poor performance and give you unreliable output. So of course the data has to be at this stage very clear, clean, and you have to ensure that the data quality is right. Second, larger part called operational risk. Can rely completely on AI? Can we completely leave our decision making process to AI? Can we think of it as, uh, you know, and do we know that this data is safe? For example, a lot of organizations were not implementing Microsoft Copilot when it came because they were of opinion that Copilot is going to be utilizing their data for training the model. Now that's like even when you sign an NDA, you don't know. And if you look at a large language model or, you know, the basic model on which all these you know, all these systems are made, it's primarily 3 or 4 large enterprises who are majorly having this concentrated large language model. And it also means kind of, what we used to once say that major part of wealth is accumulated by certain people. It boils down to the same. Major part of data is accumulated with certain companies today in the world. And can we rely on every judgment on these data source? Can we? Is of course, because there are no strict policies which are framed around generative AI so far. There are areas which they call deep fake, or those are things which are of course completely out of the line. We are talking about thin margins, and we're talking about reliability, and how well will be the data used, where will be the data used, and is it right or is it wrong. And so those ethical concerns are still there, and there is no right or wrong so far that one has come back to. Regulatory, like I said, regulatory considerations are only in extreme wrong cases where you're doing a cyber fraud, or where you're doing a fake, deep fake, or those are like extreme. Of course, that is wrong. But the thin lines where can I use your data to train my system is not something which has been derived yet. As I said in the beginning, future trends is where I will be talking about, and it's something very, very important part which I want to keep for some 10 minutes for at least. But before that, I wanted to run a real life case study on Gemini. So I'm going to copy this link and I'm going to share it on the chat, and all of you can also go to the Gemini. Just a moment. So, yeah. This is the Gemini link. I'm opening my Gemini, and I'm also sharing an Excel file here that we will be using to study. It's a CSV, sorry, not the Excel file. So, right. So I'm sharing my screen. I have Gemini already open. There, okay. All of you can open Gemini, and we can go to Tools, Canvas. Now, I have this file that I have shared with all of you, and here is the case that I will read out to you. I am sharing my case study. Okay, so the CSV that I've shared with you is imagine it of being a smartphone company, right? The smartphone company, I have provided you with a table which has component name, supplier, country, inventory, and dependency. Now, what we are going to be doing is doing certain prompts to understand what is the analysis. So, going back to the Gemini, I hope you can see my screen of Gemini. I am going to be adding the same Excel file which I've shared with all of you. Which is a component file which I shared with you. And now let me understand. So it's a simple prompt that I'm writing. Which supplier is the most risky, and what can be the risk mitigation steps? Okay. So it's a simple, I have fed the CSV and I am just writing a question. Now, as I said, the file that I've shared is of a smartphone company and the key components of the smartphone. And then what are the, the suppliers and inventory levels of various. Okay. Now here comes the analysis, right? Okay. Now if you look at it, it is analyzing the file that I have shared, and okay. 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 So this analysis highlight that the battery and the speaker are the most critical risky due to their unique combination of sole supplier, status and low inventory. Okay. So I'm giving this particular one more question. Can you help me build suppliers? So if you see, it is now recommending suppliers from North America, Europe, or India for the key high risk component, and it's also giving me a supplier qualification framework. Okay. Now I want you to think about it. You can also put your own questions if you want to, and it is for you to actually I would say a playground to experiment. Now I want you to think and appreciate the model and the build up. Okay, so if I think 6 years back, if I had to look into an Excel file of a particular thing, I would put a VLOOKUP to search a particular thing that I want in a Excel file. And I had to, of course, write a VLOOKUP command and to search for it. Now come back to this stage. You are looking, and this file can be more complex, and there can be more complexities built in this. Imagine that a system is not only looking for the component, it's also looking where it is less, that is multiple columns. Okay. And like the example I gave you all, that we used to have SQL, which is SQL query language, and it's almost like, imagine you have an Excel and you're looking at a column. How do you search for now? What did I write? I did not write any hard, difficult code. I did not, and the capability of the model is so tremendous that it's not only looking for where it is components are, it's also telling me where it is risky and also giving me a framework to mitigate this risk. Now, that's the thing that we are talking about when it comes to generative AI. I hope you all can appreciate this about the model. And this is the same, you can even build within this Gemini. This is Gemini I'm using. I'm also doing a higher order course in Gemini, which is on Vertex Google, where you can even create an agent and create a. So basically, you can, if you're using Gemini as a platform, you can even make an agent to go and search for components. You can even make an agent to go and search for and you don't have to do it. So this is what we're talking about, the major portion of generative AI. It's not no more talking about people who could manage Excel, or who could create dashboards, or who could create strategy. You don't need any of these people anymore, or maybe you do need these people, but then they don't have to actually work. They can work at a very, very deep down in the business level, rather than formatting it in a PowerPoint or making a strategy deck. So this is Gemini. Any queries? Any? How did you all find it? Did you do it the component CSV analysis as I was walking through? You have any queries here? Any questions? I hope all of you followed the steps of Gemini. Did you with me? Was it clear? Any queries? Okay, great. So I mean, you can also have more Excel files similarly labeled, or you can also have your own queries in this and, try it. I'm sharing my screen back and coming back to my presentation. So we were here. Now coming to future trends, which is an important part because, like I said, what is probably going to dictate for us in generative AI space is the way things are changing around us. Also, today when I was speaking to a couple of new onboarded students, I was telling them that these are going to be some of the last years where you're having a lot of human interaction because I think sooner that would be very majorly driven by machines. So not only decision making is being fostering, but I'm coming to a very important area. I am sure somebody might have covered it, or if not, they will be covering the very important area, which is nothing but where we are going ahead, which is agentic AI. So what's the difference between generative AI and agentic AI? So generative AI is something which is generating content, and you know that chat GPT is nothing but almost like an agent which is being generating content, but then you can make more of GPTs which can be very specific. Similarly, you can create agents. Agentic AI is nothing but where uh, you can create using an agentic AI, you can create a agent which can consist of multiple generative AI models, or it could be one model. And so how is it different? The difference is that if you know traditionally, at least all of us who have been there for almost 20 years back, we used to call very popular term call center agent or customer service agent. Or so idea of agent is nothing but somebody who can take agency, somebody who is capable of doing, executing, or you know exhibiting what traits you want. Now, what can you do? You can create autonomous agents that are capable of doing certain tasks for you. Now, the task could be very small, like searching web. The task could be very large also by searching web and then drafting an email. And here I want to go back to the example that I gave you and I want to give you how it is going to be changing the dimension for all of us. That is going back, just quickly refresher. If you remember the co-pilot, this co-pilot example I gave you, how is agentic agents going to change? So if you see this
Dahlia is a supply chain planner at Kraft Heinz Company. One
So
of
if
their
you look
biggest
at this
challenges is
here,
keeping up with demand in the face
Dahlia
of
is this lady who is the relationship manager, right? And you saw that there is I showed you the background diagram of Copilot where how's it looking search, and it will also show you that just going to that diagram, which is the
unexpected
flooding
supply chain
part.
disruptions, identifying costly problems early. The AI-driven news module to keep a
Okay, so now you saw this is the AI driven news module. What will an agent do? What if there is a Microsoft agent creator at this stage? If there is an agent created at this stage, there are a couple of things which can happen. Number one, agent is looking, there is one agent which is for news search. There's another agent. What is the agent going to be doing? It is looking that there is a supplier risk. The agent will draft an email. The agent will also send an email. You don't need Dahlia to do anything. The lady who is here. The agent will also place an order with an alternate supplier. And agent, so basically, you don't need Dahlia completely for supplier risk management. What she can do is be the human part of it, where she's only managing the relationship and she doesn't have to take anything. We can draft agents at every level of this situation, which we are seeing in this case. So you can have an agent, which is one monitoring the weather. You can have, in this case, they have built a model. You can even have an agent. What will the agent do? Because agent is different from a model. How is it different? Agent is capable of taking an action. So now the agent is monitoring the weather situation and it sees a flooding. What will it do next? It will draft an email. And what will it do next? It will also send the email. It doesn't need Dahlia to check that email. And agent can also do a backward integration. It will place order with another supplier to mitigate the risk of this supplier. After checking, you can of course put loop and holes. And they say that in an agentic environment, all you need to have is a human monitoring. So rather than a machine monitoring, now you have a human monitoring to check whether agent is not going wrong, and you can manage the rest of the scenario with using an agent. So
Dahlia is
I'm just exiting out of this video because it will keep running on a loop otherwise. So that was the thing that I wanted all of us to understand when it comes to future of the AI, generative AI or AI. And here are certain question and answers from the whole theory. So let's answer them and see where we are. These are also questions in the core curriculum of the supply chain in Future Skill Prime. So tell me, which is the strategic approach to achieve sustainability in the supply chain? I haven't covered this concept, but I think it's fairly easily concludable. So is it non-value added activities, linear economy concept, lean principles, or circular economy concepts? So I hope all of you know what is that. What is the what is linear economy concept? Linear economy concept is unilateral, where say you produce and then something happens and then it goes disposes. But if you look at sustainability, what do you need? You need a circular economy concept. You want whatever is produced to come back and recycle, right? And that's why you have this recycle. If you see any bottle which is recycled, they have this circular economy concept. Now, generative AI improves demand forecasting accuracy by creating which models? You all, and I think I spoke about predictive modeling in AI. And you know what is algorithm based model? Do you know if you have ever done in statistics? We used to have algorithm in analytics and log table, and then we used to do a log mapping and on a graph. And so that could have been done even 25 years back. One could do it with traditional modeling. So what is generative AI enabling is probabilistic model. There are multiple things which are happening simultaneously. There are multiple probabilities, and you're doing it in the real time basis. That's the beauty of a model like a generative AI model. Now, where has generative AI impacted supply chain management notably? Is it inventory management, contract negotiation, reduce operation cost, or demand forecasting? Uh, see, uh, think about it, the answer. So whenever you're reading through the session also, you should just pay attention to these are the references and that I used. And there's one image, I think I'm forgetting. Where is it? Oh, it's not here. Okay. Okay. In the last presentation, I had a image that I used in the last PPT, and I wonder where did it go. So, okay, let me check another presentation of mine. Okay, so I'm resharing my screen, and this time with a another presentation. Okay, can you all see my screen? Yeah, so actually the initial presentation of mine was it started sometime in October, and so this happened on November 4th, and I just took this and I wanted to also highlight to you how is generative AI making real life ripples. So you would have heard of this. This became newspaper headlines also. I don't know if you noticed it. It's Amazon versus Perplexity. So do you know what is Amazon saying? There's a massive lawsuit Amazon has filed against Perplexity in the US. And what is Amazon saying? Amazon is saying that Perplexity is sending its agents to the Amazon marketplace to shop. And you, like I said, you can create an agent, you can even create an agent to shop for yourself. So if you know, a lot of us used to shop groceries. For example, I used to shop for groceries in Amazon, and I used to feel it sometimes it's very tiring because you have to search for item and add it and add it. So now you can actually create an agent, and the agent is and enable an agent to make one place an order, also purchase for you. So it can even purchase, do the uh, maybe it will come to you for payment once it places the order, and you can even do the payment process, and then it will the order will be placed. So according to Amazon, Perplexity was creating agents that were coming on Perplexity's marketplace and discovering the price. Why was Amazon saying it? Because if you want to go and say where is the cheapest, let's say cheapest item available of X, or let's say cheapest mobile phone, Samsung phone available, Perplexity lists down all the sites and tell you the price. How is it able to do it? There is no manual intervention. There's a real-time agents who are deployed, and they are going to different marketplaces and they're coming back with price. How do you think it'll? Why do you think Amazon is kind of filing a lawsuit? And why do you think Amazon is kind of getting, you know, not liking it? Think about it. Amazon is also, this is Amazon Marketplace, but Amazon also is the largest cloud provider in the world. And they are creating their own large language model, and which will lead to creation of agents. So, of course, Perplexity is not doing something that Amazon doesn't know or is not going to do. So, why is this Amazon bothered so much? And think of it, why if you look at it today, uh, the players like Amazon are saying that they provide the cheapest price. Okay, they also of course have their own spectrum of AI in AI and models based on generative AI that are doing the price, real time pricing, real time promotion. How do you think somebody comes and tells that price at Perplexity? So you don't have to go to Flipkart, Amazon, or XYZ 510 different places to search for a good price. You go to Perplexity, you go and search, and you say where is the best price available. Now you don't even go to these platforms. You don't use Google search. You don't use Amazon. You don't use any of these platforms. You just know the price, and then you go to that platform to purchase. What is it going to lead to? It will lead to, number one, Amazon not able to earn the marketplace share of money from its sellers. Number two, Amazon, a lot of sellers advertise for Amazon that my product is available on Amazon. That will go off. Even to list Amazon, a lot of people pay price. That's not going to happen. So the brand proposition of Amazon is going to be lost. And that is why it is so, this is, and there is no result, by the way. And what is Perplexity saying? Perplexity is saying this is an innovation. People can create their own agent. People can deploy their own agents to make their work easy. It's almost like I'm asking my house help to buy for me. I create a help to purchase for me. So they're saying this is innovation, and innovation isn't fraud. We are not doing any fraud. So this was the newspaper. This is the digital news cutting that I took. and I wanted all of you to just enjoy the real-time things which are happening. And this is this is nothing but Agent Deployment Kit, ADK, by Google, which is nothing but a step forward to Gemini. Now you can use the Gemini cloud model, create your own agents, and you can even install your own agents using the, this is just one of the examples. Of course, you can use multiple other platforms. Yeah, after that there was a Q&A, and then yeah, so that's I think we just completed on time. I was a little faster towards the end. So any queries, if all of you have anything, please let me know. I have created a feedback form. Incidentally, I did not share it with two or three of the sets which I conducted. So I forgot. Let me share it here now. Let me know how do you like the session. If you have any feedback, I'll be happy to include it in going forward in my next sessions.
Right. So are you sharing the link here, Anjana, or you'll you've shared
I've
it here.
shared a link, but I thought you also made a form, so I forgot completely about it, asking that what's the feedback
No,
on
I
it.
am actually not sharing the form now because the participants need to submit their feedback on Atal portal itself.
Okay.
And also I'm sharing the feedback form, like there's a journal, reflective journal, which is there available on the portal itself. If you can, I can share it in the group after the sessions are over, and you can I'll put it in the WhatsApp group and you can fill it and send it to me. I'm also requesting the participants to record a video feedback and share with me. I'll put it on my YouTube channel. I'll be happy to do that as well.
Yeah, because we did not see anybody's face, so we are eager to see the attendees' face. I think
Yes,
everybody
yes, I was
comfort
not
of
able
it.
to enable it because I'm putting it on Zoom. I'm not able to enable the video for all the. I
Participants,
tried,
because there
yeah.
are more than so many. No, I think there are limited.
Yes.
Uh,
Otherwise,
yeah.
if it's a like 100% meeting, then it's possible. But we had 165 registrations, so I had to set it up as a
Maybe we can
webinar.
do it on Teams. You can invite all the people on Teams. Just take a video snap and then let them go.
I'll talk to
Because I
you
think,
how to do that. I'll talk to you how to do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
ठीक है. Okay, thank you so much everyone for your time, and thank you Anjana for taking that session. Always a pleasure, and as we can see from the comments, I think everyone loved it. And please share your presentation. I'll share it in the group. And
Sure.
thank you
Thank you
faculty
so much.
members for attending, for giving your time on Friday evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have fun. Bye
Okay,
bye.
okay, bye.